I'm going to show you how I painted this design on rolled buttercream icing. I got the design from Amuse Bake Shop. The link will be shown below. The supplies I used to paint are Americolor gel colors, red, forest green, and leaf green not shown. I also will be gilding the cookies, and I use some gold for that. Links for these supplies will be shown below. I use Everclear alcohol, 95%, which will help me thin out the gel food coloring, and it's used instead of water to paint on the cookies because it evaporates quickly. Using water can cause problems, especially with rolled buttercream. Then you'll see that I have brushes and a little thing to scoop up the alcohol, just a small amount. Here I'm adding the gel food color to the wells. I add actually a little too much color, so I scoop some back in. You'll see a little bit later. Then you'll see me actually use the alcohol to load into the tray. I put extra alcohol in some of those wells, and I use that to thin out the gel. And also, if I need to rinse out my brush, I first rinse it out with water, and then I go in and dab it into the alcohol to basically remove the water from my brush and replace it with alcohol. Now you'll see me actually starting to paint the cookie. This red paint was very clumpy, so I had to be real careful not to pick up those dried bits of paint. I actually moved the paint onto the side to kind of make sure I have the right consistency and the right color. So instead of just using the well, you'll see me mixing kind of in that center area, making sure I have the right consistency and it's the right color. So I go back in and draw a line and a dot and a line on the bottom, kind of a nice little touch. Tried to get the dot right in the middle of underneath where the O is. And then I touch up a little bit of touch up the lighter areas with darker paint. You can't see, but off to the side there you see I'm actually rinsing my brush with water. I dry it off, and now I'm dipping it back in the alcohol, like I mentioned, and now I'm going in with some green paint. Now this brush is a little bit thick for painting these fine leaves, but I kind of rough it in, and then I go back in later with a smaller brush. You have to be really careful painting this way that you don't go over the same area too many times, because that'll cause a crater in the buttercream icing. Basically, too much liquid in that one spot will seep into the icing eventually. Even though the alcohol evaporates, it can only evaporate so fast. If you need to go back over an area, the best thing to do is to let it dry for a bit and go back over with your second layer. Now we get to my tiny brush, and I'm going back in with some fine lines. And I have to be careful here. I'm rolling my brush to give it a really fine point on some of these leafy areas. I think that's it for the green, so now we're going to rinse off our brush and move on to the gold. I basically had taken some of that gold powder and dumped it into the well, and added that little dropper of alcohol. It's a little bit thin, so you'll see me picking up some of the dried powder on the side there to really make sure I have a good load of gold. And that's my completed cookie. And here you can see the gold as I move the cookie into the light. That's it. Here's a couple of more images of some of the cookies I painted during this session. A few more joys. Hope that gives you some joy. Go ahead and try it. Let me know if you do. Thank you.